And we are live once again for GRAPPL FPL Club. I'm Benno, with me, Andy Ogden, Chris Lene, Jamesy's on the way, catching the end of the United game / putting the kids to bed, but we'll have Jamesy with us soon. But yeah, we're here for another FPL Club. It's been a few weeks. How are we, gents? How's it going, Andy? We're on the we're on the Roman Reigns schedule now. We only come back for these big game weeks now, big doubles, big blanks. That's what we do over here now, part timers.
Yeah, and in them 2 weeks, I've probably used about -24 as ever. So
Oh, I love it. That's it. That's what we want. That's the proper. We're at the business end of the season now, as everyone else starts to use their chips, and Mr. Chips is on the outside, up against the glass, looking in this chip usage. But we'll have loads of that conversation today. And yeah, back with us after missing out last time. It's Great Brash Eel himself, Chris Lanay. Chris, how are you, mate? Oh, you're muted, mate. I think
sorry about that.
No worries.
Yeah,
Hi, Chris.
great to be out. Yeah, been away that long, forgot to take myself off mute. Always a good start. Yeah, great to be back. Good to see the January transfers failed and you couldn't replace me with Eddie or anybody, so had to be brought back into the team. So yeah, good to be back, and I'm finally on the way up. So I'm glad to. That's why I was avoiding you, really. Just
we said that last week. Like that's why we all came back, because things were starting to turn around. Jamesy's in like the top 500 worldwide or something daft like that now. That's an exaggeration, but not that much of an exaggeration considering where he is. But yeah, and I've noticed that you've been climbing, mate. You've been again. Is the secret just not doing FPL podcasts? Is that?
Yeah, I did laugh when Jamesy said that, and I was just like, yeah, it's not. I mean, it's been an odd one. Like I'm still like just over 2 million on the overall game, but like I was 4 million at restart after the World Cup, so not too bad in that regard. But yeah, I mean, there was 1 week where I was 10 points above the average, and I still lost places overall, and I was just like, I'm just in a quagmire now, and it's just like there's so many people just kind of, I think, between maybe 2.5 million and 1.5 million that are just basically the same team getting the same points all the time, and you're just not moving. So unless you can do something really differential and break through, like I had a big game last week, we'll get to it in a bit, but it's because I captained Rashford and didn't captain Haaland. If that hadn't paid off, Haaland scores that open goal that he had, and City take any other one or two of the 25 chances they had in that game, then I'm back down to 3 million for something.
I was going to say, Chris, Jeff's always looking at your team as like something to aim for, and even he says, like, just looking at Chris's team, it's very similar to mine, and he's always trying to like do something different, like one or two players.
He had Maddison last week, and it didn't pay off for him.
Yeah. He keeps moaning about that to me. He's like, anytime like I take someone out and put someone in, the person who he's took out has bloody had a blinder.
I mean, Jamesy's got it with Martinez. He went Martinez instead of Shaw, and I remember him saying when Martinez scored, it rocketed him up the listing and stuff. And I've kind of gone for it in. A lot of people brought in Tyrone Mings, and I went Konsa instead. And like people are looking at Tarkowski, and I'm looking at Mikolenko and that sort of thing. So it's the same defense, but it's a different player just for that little tweak to see if it can make any difference. But we'll go into those as we go on, I guess.
Those small things, and that looks like what makes all the difference. Like I've been joking. I've got like a mini league rival in work. If you're watching Stu, hi. I hope he's not, because like me and Stu have had a rivalry going back in work to like 2008, something like that. And like I'm very involved in like the FPL YouTube stuff. He's very involved in FPL Reddit, but like we always tend to have like similar-ish teams. Like right now, he's been a few points behind me. We basically look like two players different at this point. And it's just like, I think he's used his triple captain already, but you start to get in that mode now. It's that part of the season where you're starting to think, oh, what can I do to be different from the person I'm trying to catch? I'm thinking with Stu, I'm a few points ahead for the first time in a few years. Shall I just copy him and just troll him to the end of the season and just do as similar as I can so he can't leapfrog me? Like, that's where you get to. Are you and your Jeff like that, Andy? Have you like what's Jeff like with Chips as well? That's what I want to know. Like, is Mr. Chips running the family?
Yeah, he's as bad as me, because I'll see, like live FPL, when the table updates at 12:30 on a Saturday, and I'll scroll down because he's that far down. He won't mind me saying that. I can see the -4s and the -8s, but he, like I say, he's just trying to find something different. But as ever with any competition, we're competitive. He beats me at everything, pool, God knows it. He loves getting one over on me, but I'm happy to see that I'm getting one over on him this season.
So he's the pool player of the two. Who's the better better, and who's the better drinker? They're the two main Ogden sports, are they not?
I would say gambling were as bad as each other. Drinking, I don't know. Jeff can handle it better.
Wow, credit to Jeff there. There you go, one for Jeff. But yeah, gets competitive, gets out there, gets busy. But yeah, just joining us here, jumping in. It's the one and only Jamesy, the man who gives us credibility on this podcast at this point, Jamesy. I was joking before, you're top 500 in the world, but you might actually be. I haven't checked the numbers, but hello, mate. Show us how it's done. Good to have you.
All right, that's how it is.
Oh, good. Just talking to some prime FPL shithousery. You wouldn't do that though, mate. You wouldn't be like that at all.
Oh, I would. That's pretty much how I've played all season, I think. Defensively rather than offensively, and it's working out okay so far. You'll have to excuse me. I have the match on in the background here. If you hear some funny noises at any point, just ignore me.
How are they getting on?
1-1, so 3-3 in aggregate so far, yeah.
Oof. There we go. See what happens. You're in with a better shout than Liverpool from yesterday. We did like grapple yesterday, and Gareth jumped on at like half time, I think, to help us do the pre-show. And being grapple, obviously an hour later, we still had him. And like he literally checked the score as he was about to leave. He was like, "Hang on, what score is it? How? What?" So hopefully that's not going to happen to you, and we're not going to be at a bad luck charm. But yeah, obviously that's going on. A lot's going on in the real world of footy today. Obviously, John Watson, got to mention that as well. Obviously, dying today. Massive voice of footy. In general, you'd say like the amount of like tributes you've seen today, Jamesy. It's been ridiculous, hasn't it? But well deserved. Got big memories of the big man.
Oh, definitely. Like going back to the days of before Sky Sports, when all we had was BBC coverage of FA Cup finals and FA Cup ties and match of the day and that kind of thing. Yeah, always seemed like a nice man who just loved football more than anything, And some of those. Somebody played. I saw on Twitter they played his commentary of Robbie Keane's goal for Ireland in the 2002 World Cup when he scored in the last minute to equalise against Germany, and it's iconic. You know what I mean? Just like capturing the moment perfectly and capturing the joy of the Irish fans and. Just they don't make commentators like him anymore. I don't think. I think the Sky Sports comments, some of them are good enough, but there's not the same gravitas that the likes of Motti had. I think back in the day.
Yeah, I think being like the age we all are, he's kind of the voice of football of us growing up. Because there was one or two channels that would show the game, and he'd be on one of them at least, sort of thing. So he was. All the big moments have been called by him. And even the stuff, there was videos doing the rounds today of it. It's kind of like interviews of him just talking about football and that sort of stuff. You see there was a great love for the game, and it was always seemed a bit harsh. He just kind of got the boot, and then it didn't even get picked up by anybody else, which was an odd one. Like these days, you can't move for, Mark Chapman being on every flipping game or, that sort of thing, So it did seem odd that he just kind of... took his papers and then just kind of never came back. Is that a goal for United?
Yeah, 2-1, Anthony.
Oh yeah,
brilliant goal.
Yeah, Motson never took the big Sky money, did he? Or even
that was the thing.
If when like an Amazon come along, we'll get him in for a one-shot deal. It makes it sound like wrestling, doesn't it?
Oh, it does, yeah. You get that, don't you, with the commentators? Like they just, or like the pundits. It'll be like, hang on, how's he doing like BBC, and he's also doing like ITV's World Cup like coverage? It's always like weird, isn't it? There's ones who are just kind of.
Ali McCoy's did one recently, isn't he? Because he was like,
he's everywhere.
He does ITV, and then he does Amazon with Clive Tildesley and what's it, John Champion, and then he turned up on Sky, for one of the League Cup matches, like. When's this deal been made?
To be fair, he is probably the best, I guess, colour commentator you could call it.
Is.
Brilliant.
He's fantastic.
Who was it that did the Super Bowl the other week, Chris? Everyone was moaning about the ITV coverage. Who was it? Didn't they get like 40 commentators?
I watched the NFL, the actual the American stream. So I'm not sure he was on the.
It'll be him off BT Sport, won't it? Oh,
Aaron Fletcher, wasn't it?
Darren Fletcher.
Darren Fletcher.
Yeah.
Yeah. They usually bring in like Iron Mike. What's his name?
Mike Carlson.
Yeah, Mike Carlson.
Western Observer subscriber Mike Carlson. He's a big Raptor fan, apparently.
Yeah, he used to be the one that always got it. But yeah, I didn't really see the British coverage is a little too dumbed down for me to watch it like for the Super Bowl.
Not enough XG.
I put it on for 5 minutes. It just sounded wrong. It was just like just hearing like this British voice kind of going on, and he had like an ex-player, Jack Crawford, I think it says here it was, on with him. Like I'm not even sure who that is. Like, but like at least you had an American accent in the booth as well. But it's like I just feel like with the Super Bowl, you want to do, even if you're only floating in for that one game, you want to do it properly, don't you? You want the American ads, you want the American commentators. You don't want the whole like back to the studio every time there's an ad break in America and there's pundits being forced to come up with stuff on the fly to talk about. You want the proper experience. Didn't you? Exactly, I think you said, Chris, didn't you? It was a quid, wasn't it, to get that properly through NFL this year?
It was a quid for the network. For just the or $1 for the network, and it's for the NFL network for that game. So, but it's kind of like when you watch. As an English person, English or Irish person, watching the MLS and hearing American commentators talk about soccer, it's the same as when you watch the NFL a lot. And then you're listening to English people commentate. Like you just kind of like you just pick up on things that are just wrong, sort of thing. Yeah. So it's that kind of vibe, isn't it?
Well, Matty's been big on that Twitter account this week, hasn't he? The one that comes up with all like the the things all the footballers say, all the little phrases they use, like that. But you hear like Americans say it on like because I always watch like the American streams of games, and you're right, it just sounds off, doesn't it? It just doesn't. It's just not words that should be coming out of their mouths.
Fine margins. That's all. So that's the one we always get from the Rochdale manager at the moment. He's all like. Fine margins, and we'll go again.
Oh, you got to do a clap as well. Respect, we go again.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, you get a lot of that. I've been watching the what you call it, the Wrexham documentary, Welcome to Wrexham, and you got like them two coming in like completely unaware of anything to do with footy. Like literally, like there's a point in the documentary where like they've owned Wrexham for about a year, and someone's still explaining like the offside rule to them, or explaining like how the playoffs work, and they're like, "Hang on, we don't just go up. What's going on there?" And it's just like this whole like just kind of this just world they've been like thrown into, and they're trying to. I will say they come across well on that. The lads, it's Ryan Reynolds, isn't it, and Rob McElhenney from Always Sunny. We ended up at their. We went for a drive a few weeks ago, and we ended up like kind of going to Wales. We ended up in Wrexham. We had a pint in that pub that's in the documentary, which is the reason we started watching it. We hadn't seen it until that point, and there's like there's all stuff in there, or like Always Sunny merchandise on the walls in there, and like their autographs and stuff like that. It's a weird kind of clash of two cultures, you know what I mean? It's just like just seems odd. There's like a big picture of Ryan Reynolds on the wall of like this old clubhouse. They all seem happy with it. They all seem made up. The day that we went, Will Ferrell had apparently been there for a pint, and he'd been to see the game that day, like 3 in the afternoon. So like they get all the great and good in Wrexham now. Apparently, that's what that documentary is.
That's where Will Ferrell were doing like 4 games in 4 days. He should have tried my wrestling schedule from 2018 to 2019.
That's it. Get him around the country. Get him doing a 50 show year, like or 100 show year, like that you lads were doing back in the day. Yeah. That's the proper away day. None of this lower league footy stuff. That's it.
I saw Mike Dean, the referee for the Premier League. He had a week off, and he went round Holland, and he went to 6 games in like 2 days, just like traveling around as a fan sort of thing.
Fan,
yeah.
Someone like that though, you just think he's asking for trouble, like someone who doesn't like him. He's made a bad call at some point, or he's in a football terrace. Don't know. Feels like there could be a.
Wait, I can't remember which team it is he supports. It's a lower league.
Tranmere.
Yeah. And he's in the home end at that sometimes when he's it's good to see that, because I mean, referees don't get into the game because they get into it because they must love football. So it's good that they keep that connection.
It's probably why he went to Holland.
Oh yeah,
just to get because as you said, if he went down to one of the English clubs instead of the terrace, he'd probably get dogs abuse. At least if he goes to England over to Holland for a game, he's He's
Yeah.
he's nobody. Like, he'd probably get a bit of peace and quiet. But yeah, it's nice to know that these guys do love football. You know what I mean? And it's because you kind of you tend to view referees as the guys who ruin all the fun. You know what I mean? And the killjoys and all that kind of thing. But as you said, like they're just guys who probably coached when they were younger and played themselves. And so I think that's a bad thing. And it's a good way. I think it's a good idea of them to humanize referees a little bit as well.
Definitely,
because they have such a bad reputation now at this stage.
Yeah, I always think that, like, whenever I've gone to see like Marine or like AFC Liverpool, like, and Crosby Gareth goes to see them a lot, like, you just look at the refs and the lines and it's like, you must really love this to accept like this level of abuse from an old fella who's like this close to you, like by the touchline for like what, 20 quid or whatever you're making for the night. It's like, fucking hell, like, and you're not getting to the Premier League at any point. So like, because some of these fellas are like 45, you know what I mean? It's like, what are they doing? Like, what's in it for them? It's horrible. But there you go. Gotta have that love of the game to do it. But suppose we should get into the FPL stuff. Speaking of love of the game, got plenty to update people on this week after the last couple of weeks. I've heard rumours that one of us might be on a wild card this week. Might be Jamesy there in the corner. Might have lots to talk about. I know Chris has got some interesting transfer plans, and we said before, Jamesy, Andy's like now on the outside looking in as we're all spending all these chips. Andy's at the window.
Or Mr. Chips.
Yeah, you'll be Mr. Hits for the rest of the season, I think. Andy,
yeah,
you,
Mr. Minus, the minus talk, literally.
You'd be logging in as Jeff just to get that endorphin rush of using like his free hit or his wildcard one because. But plenty to talk, and I suppose we should start with having a quick look at the GRAPPL FPL league table, and one of the big points from that league table is Chris Lene. We'll go to you first, mate. Is it your first week back as you continue to climb the table? I see a little green arrow next to your name there, mate, which is a nice sight. Since before Christmas, it was not an often thing. You're working your way up the leagues, and we'll keep it brief as far as like the last few weeks or so go, but going back the last 3 weeks since we last recorded Gameweek 22, you were one of the few that played your triple captain and in Rashford. That paid off for you, and that paid off for Jamesy as well. Last week with a 77 pointer, which was a good week for you as well, and nailing the Haaland captain. And this week, still above the average, 61 pointer again, going Rashford captain. How would you sum up your last few weeks of player? And no regrets on that triple captain. That hurts me. I think that week I was so close to hitting that button. Now I've got no fucking clue when I'm going to use it. None at all.
Well, that was the thing. I think I was like, if I don't use it this week, it would be Haaland the following week, and I was like, everybody probably use it then. So kind of played from how far back I still am. Kind of need to make those decisions that are a little bit differential and need them to pay off. And pre-World Cup 50-50 decisions weren't really going my way. At the minute they are, which is kind of the look of it. But I mean, Rashford was in such good form going into those games. What was it? Palace and then Leeds, wasn't it? And he scored in both and got the full bonus and that sort of thing. So I can't complain on that. Next week, Haaland as captain. I'd done better if it was De Bruyne, but you're always going to captain Haaland, aren't you? I guess. But Shaw again with I think it was an assist in that one and a clean sheet.
It was, assist and clean sheet.
Yeah, so that was another great one. And I mean, even that week though, I mean, I did take a -4, but I was, I said at the start, I was 10 points above average and still didn't even. I lost places, which just shows you how difficult it is in the mud of the area where I am, because I'm seeing people like the top content creators are getting scores lower than I am, but are still gaining places, sort of thing, because of
where they are.
Yeah, it's kind of like, but in the mire, it's much harder to get out at the moment. And then last week, I mean, Rashford was just a massive differential. I think 15 points he got anyway. Haaland got 2, so it's a big swing over that. Odegaard delivered again. Kane got an assist, didn't he? So getting returns from
Eddie Kane.
Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that later, but I can't see a reason to move off him at the moment. even if it was a double game week. But yeah, it was just been some solid weeks that I've been missing for most of the year. So I'm hopeful it will continue, but it's getting tricky now. There'll be calls that you'll make, and they'll it's boom or bust, isn't it? I think for the next few weeks.
Yeah, but doing stuff like that, nailing the Rashford triple captain, obviously massive, but I think even bigger than that's probably nailing Rashford last week. You know, I was one of the many who just kind of defaulted to Haaland, which is definitely a conversation we can have, whether, you know, Haaland by default is really the shout anymore, but that just shows it, doesn't it? Like, going against it and backing difference, even if it's a relatively low scoring game week, can make all the difference, can't it? And still give you a green arrow there. It's like the Kane thing. We were having the conversation last time out about him. It was like I was and ahhing about moving him on just because of the things I could have done with the money. And I think Jamesy took me out of it. And on Jamesy's current run of form, I'm listening to Jamesy right now, and I kept him. Maybe not this week, but I kept him, and it was just like, yeah, you know, he's Mr. Steady, isn't he? You know, 5 or 6 points, and he's a differential because everyone's looking elsewhere, aren't they? Everyone's looking at the doubles, which obviously we're going to be talking about today, and looking at the blanks, and not really looking at, you know, look at him, look at Matoma, you know, Brighton in general, look at the form players. Some of them are kind of getting forgotten and left behind.
Yeah, I think with Kane, if it wasn't for Haaland, he'd be the best striker in the game, and he'd be in everybody's team. So him being the second best striker, I mean, he's got the second most points. He's got 155 points this season so far, and he's only 30 points behind, well, less than 30 points behind Haaland. So it's not as if he's a bad pick. The problem is it's the money, isn't it? So if you've got the money in Haaland, you take the money out of Kane, you put that into midfield, and midfielder having an average game can still get 3 points because you get a clean sheet bonus or whatever, and maybe an assist. Kane is basically doing it all for himself at the minute up front. You know, Son until last week has been off the boil for ages. Kuleski's only just coming back from injury. Richarlison's not been in the team. So he's not got a lot of avenues for getting assists usually. So if he's not scoring, he's only getting you 2 points. And you can't have that much money wrapped up in a player that's only getting you 2 points on an off game sort of thing. So I can see the reason why people have moved away from him and get if somebody like Watkins or Nketiah or Darwin come into a permanent patch, like you say, you can spread that money elsewhere. But I think there's enough quality at lower prices this year where you can afford to have 2 strikers and you'd still pick up the points in midfield and defence with lower price options.
Definitely. Yeah, it's one of those seasons, isn't it? Like, you look at Arsenal's a good example of that, where like all of their great players are all pretty much available between that, you know, at the lowest, you know, for the defenders, 4 odd million, but for the midfielders, you know, it ranges from 6 to like 8 million and really not much more than that.
It's like next year, Saka's going to be 10 million, so they can break it up, sort of thing. It's it'll definitely be his last year as an 8 million. It'll be 9, 5, 10 million starting next year, I'd have thought.
One thing I noted was in game week 23, you were one of the people to make that move, Martinelli to Odegaard, that sideways Arsenal move, paid off pretty much.
Yeah, I ummed and ahed on that for ages, because I really thought it was a sideways move, and I still think I went a couple of weeks late on that. I could have gone earlier, and I was late to move off Almiron for Mitoma.
Yeah, me too. I kept him too long,
and it was because I was like, well, Odegaard is a sideways move, and Mittoma's got the blank game weeks coming up, so there's no point bringing him out. And then it ended up that Almiron's got blank games coming up as well, and then then you missed like the 2 10-pointers that Mitoma got, and then I got him for 2 10-point games that he had, and then I got him for the blank or whatever. So too late on that one. Got it right on the other one, and Martinelli looks like he'll be probably 2/3 of the time now with Trossard getting the rest. So
I would say like Matoma's last 2 weeks, he's only got 2 points and 2 points. So that's as soon as everyone's jumped on board the bandwagon after his couple of good weeks. What was it, 10 points and 11 points, and then as soon as everyone jumps on, it goes to shit as ever.
Yeah, that was exactly when I took him out for Almiron, and then Almiron scored, I think, the following week. And now Bruno Guimaraes is coming back, and that's generally what's held Almiron back from being the attacking force, because he's kind of having to play deeper and play a different role without Bruno G in the team, sort of thing. But with him coming back, he'll probably go back to his old form. So
That's the thing. I feel the same about the other Bruno Fernandes. He's been punishing me a little bit lately. But I was going to say, just quickly looking at this, looking at the breakdown of his last few games, I'm loving that. Yeah, Chris makes his return to a FPL club, and look what's on the FPL website now. XG, there it is. XG, you get XA. I think you get a few of the defender stats on the proper website now, mate. It's gone mainstream. It's there right in living colour now.
Yeah, I think they've seen how much subscribers and that sort of thing places like Hub and those sort of things are getting, and they're realizing that they have to up their game, sort of thing, to try and stick with it. But yeah, it's an interesting thing. I guess I don't know how well it can be explained to people that don't really give that much of a play casually sort of thing. But if it's on there for the people that know what it is, you can just quickly look over it, sort of thing.
Yeah, that's it. It's gonna. We'll all be talking it now. It'll be like inside the terms in wrestling. It'll be you'll go into work, and all the casual players will be like, "Oh, I wouldn't sign him, Chris. He's got bad XG." It's gonna become the talk of the town. But they're always like, that's the thing with the FPL site. They're always late for stuff like that, aren't they? Like when the fancy football scout website started, and that was kind of a place to get any kind of analysis. Then they had their own scout. Then it was the boom of the podcasters. Now they have their own podcast, and there's like the FPL show on the website. So yeah, XG was always coming as well. But yeah, overall, Chris, got to be happy with that last 3 game weeks. Any other overall thoughts from the last year?
No, yeah, it's been a nice return. See some positive things. My aim, I think, now is probably to try and get in the top million, and see where I've got people in the GRAPPL league that I've kind of eye-marked for, try and catch this person up by this week and this person up by the X week, sort of thing. So I've got my my goals laid out, but it's I think as the season goes on, more people drop out, so you should see your rank rise a bit anyway. So I'm hopeful enough people have got bored with it, with all these rearrangements, that I'll be able to sneak up a bit more.
It's going to be a lot of people tempted as well to be like looking at the team this week, thinking, might want a free hit. Things like JP was asking me about that. I was like, mate, hold off. There'll be better weeks that will be coming very soon,
Yeah, I think chip strategy from here on in, for those that have got them, is going to be very important, because I'm kind of like, I think I know when I'm using the free hit, and then I'm trying to save the wild card and bench booster as late as possible. But
good shot. Well,
I did. Earlier in the week, I was like, 27, 28, 29, and now I'm like, no.
Yeah. Oh, we'll be going through that. I've got about 14 different plans, depending on what happens next week as well. But I was going to say, speaking of chips, we might have a new Mr. Chips on the podcast, because looking back at your few weeks, the last few weeks, Jamesy played triple captain along with Chris in 22. Also went along with Rashford. Never in doubt there, which I'd listened to it on the last podcast that we'd recorded as far as going with that. As I mentioned before, you're on a wild card now, but triple digits in game week 22's got to look good. 104 for that one, 77 for game week 23. Still well above the average, same as Chris, going with Captain Haaland. And then this last week 51, maybe not quite as strong, but a rare dip in form for you, Jamesy. But still sitting pretty overall, and still overall probably a good period. Still moving in the right direction, would you say?
Oh yeah, still tipping away happily. Have just been defending my rank, I suppose, in a way. You know what I mean? And I have very much been trying to cover off the highly owned assets, I suppose. You know what I mean? Which I think, like, there are definitely weeks where you can take a punt and go for something, but in a game that's 38 game weeks, that's a whole year long, you have to kind of be careful as well. You know what I mean? And as I said, I have definitely found that keeping an eye on the EO of players this year has really served me well. You know what I mean? And noticing, like, keeping an eye on who has hurt me every week as well. Like not having Bruno this week was a bit of a killer for me. He and him and Mahrez. Like, I took a decision, I think, a couple of weeks ago to go De Bruyne over Mahrez, and it paid off the week I did it. But this week it didn't pay off. You know what I mean? And things like that. I think keeping an eye on the highly owned assets, trying to get as many of those into your team as possible, is definitely a good way to go. And as I said, we'll talk about it later. I have played the wild card now, and I'll explain the reasons I've done it. But yeah, very happy. And as I said, unfortunately, the Rashford, that was a big swing this week. Haaland blanked and Rashford got 15. And I think that was anybody who, like Chris, who went on Rashford, really, really got a big jump this week. That was really the difference. Like, it was a low-scoring week across the board. Like, Newcastle didn't keep a clean sheet. Most people had one or both of Martinelli. Saka got the 6 points from them. People had the United clean sheet, but apart from that, it was blanks all over the place. Kane only got an assist, kind of a thing. So in weeks like that, if you can nail the captaincy and there is a big swing, that's really how you can make a bit of a jump, you know.
Yeah. Did you consider Rashford this week? Was it a consideration? Or
I think Marcus Rashford, the way he's playing, it has to now be a consideration every single week. Now, obviously, he's not playing this game week, but he has, like, Haaland has gone slightly off the boil, and he's not the automatic pick that he was. I think every week you now have to look at Rashford's match, or if he's at a double game week, and look at the game he has, and he has to be a consideration because, like Chris said as well, it's easier for a midfielder to haul. Like, if United win a game 1-0 and Rashford gets the winner, that's 5 points, and keep a clean sheet, that's 3 + 5. That's 11 points for one goal. You know what I mean? Whereas I've had Kane lots of times where he scored once and it's a 6-pointer only. You know, because he's it's you know, definitely Rashford has to be a consideration from now on, I think, because he's just like, he's lethal at the moment. You know what I mean? Like, literally, if he shoots, if he gets in the box, there's full time in the United match, 1-0. Now I can concentrate fully.
I'm going to say from the points,
you're doing your research.
from the points he scored there over the last 10 weeks, he's outscored Haaland, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I was going to say, like, if you told me before Christmas, if you showed me that screen and said, "Is that Rashford or Haaland?" I'd been like, well, clearly Haaland, because you look at that 15, 8, 8, 12, 7, a 2. 10, 8, 5, like that's going there backwards in time for Rashford, and then you compare that with Haaland, like, it makes grim reading really, because it's 2, 6, 4, 2. There's a 17 in there, but then it's 6, 2, 2, 6 again. You know, all since the international break. Like, that's you know, that just in pure numbers, like, it's a no-brainer, really, isn't it? I think we're all obviously ingrained in Haaland. We all know what he's capable of, like, you know, like he showed against Wolves in game week 21, but like, Rashford's got to be the best player in the game right now, like, by a fair amount there.
Oh yeah, big time. And like, there's definitely something weird happening with Man City. Like, Pep is having some kind of existential crisis at the moment, I think, where he can't not play Haaland. He's definitely overthinking it, because, like, do you remember when we were sitting here the first 10 weeks of the season, and it was ridiculous? Like, we'd be in our group chat and it just, there's another goal for Haaland, another goal for Haaland, another goal for Haaland. And it was like
Erling in capital letters from Andy. That's the
Earl King from Andy,
Okay.
It was like they weren't thinking too much about it. They had this great striker. They were getting the ball into him as much as they could, and it was working great for them. And I think remember before the World Cup, I think they lost to Brentford and they got caught on the break a couple of times, and he had the whole 6 weeks of the World Cup to think about that defeat. And I think he's terrified now of being caught on the break. And I think he feels like they can't press as well as they used to with Haaland up front, and they can't control games as much. So he's gone hyper into keeping the ball. Don't play any risky passes. And when you have a striker like Haaland up front, you should be playing risky passes. Like, a poor pass beyond the defender can become a great pass because he's so strong and powerful, you know what I mean? But he doesn't want them now playing those passes anymore. So it's just a bit of a funny one where it's all kind of, the system is kind of not working as well as it should, and he has become like a normal striker now. You know, he's become the equivalent of a 20-goal-a-season striker instead of a 40-goal-a-season striker, you know. And then on the other hand, as we said, we have Rashford, who just looks like every time he shoots, it looks like it's going in. Rashford is just playing at the moment on autopilot. He's not thinking. He's just playing on pure instinct, and he's red hot, you know. And FPL, more than anything, is a game about getting on the right people when they're red hot, because no player is red hot for 38 games of a season, and you have to try and catch people on their 5, 10, 15 game run when they're really good, and then know when to get off them as well, you know.
Yeah, and that's it. I think, you know, that's kind of the lesson we've all got to learn. It's like, you know, a Trippier, for example, you know, they're still sat there at the minute. You know, he's kind of gone off the boil a little bit, you know, recently. You say, you know, obviously he was the reliable for his 8s, his 9s, his 8s, but now we're into, quite a few 2s and 1s lately. De Bruyne, another one of your men, Jamesy. Like, that's one that me and you have been cursing for a while. Surprised to still see him knocking about with your lot. But was he out and back in again? Was he with you, De Bruyne?
Yeah, it was a bit of a. What did I have? I had Bruno for a double game week, and then
the next week I think.
Yeah, and then there was a Man City double game week, so the easy move was to move on to him, and then now Salah has the double game week, so the plan was always Bruno to KDB to Salah kind of a thing. But like one of the things when we look back on the season, I think, is how much better all our teams might have been if we had just ignored KDB and Salah and had Kane from day one as our second premium, because there's so many other cheaper midfielders that we like, if we had been on Matoma at the right time, if we'd gotten onto Odegaard when he had that hot run a while back, all the 6 to 8 million, like you said, Benno, like, and the money we could have put out, if we had just ignored those two for the whole season, and the money we could have put elsewhere in our teams, that's one of the big regrets. And there's something about the 12 million players, though, isn't there? Like, it's a double Liverpool again this week. And despite,
feels more justifiable, doesn't it?
Yeah, and despite everything that's happened with Liverpool this season, despite them losing 5-2 only last night, your first thought is still get Mo Salah in and put the captain's armband on him, like, you know what I mean? So
there's like a nostalgia to it, isn't it, as well? It's that too, but it's the price. If you eliminated that, like Rashford right now is a 12 million player, isn't he? Like, it's like,
he was 6 million. He was 6.5 at the start of the That's one of the greatest underpricings in the history of the game. 6.5 million he was back at the start of the season.
Plus as well, he's down as a midfielder. And initially you think with Rashford, he's a striker.
He's a striker, absolutely, 100%, yeah.
Oh, I was going to say, James, like you say, this week didn't go amazing for you, but you've still got to be happy overall. I mean, looking at your game week history screen there, mate. Still a lot of green arrows from the Christmas run. We didn't jinx you in game week 22 at least. Got you up into the top 8,000.
I was in the top. I think the first time in my life I was in the top 10K properly at the end of a game week. So I was delighted with that. Bit of a slip the last couple of weeks, but
top 10K meant something like 5 years ago when there were like a quarter of as many players as there is now. So like that's massive. You stayed in it last week as well, even with the red arrow, and it's only this week you've just slipped out. But that's a small red arrow, 9,000 to 12,000. Like can't be too upset with that. It's looking very realistic at this point, isn't it?
I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy. It comes with pressure though. You start kind of feeling something about being in the top 10K. It's like, God, you kind of feel a little bit more pressure on your decisions and that kind of thing, and you're kind of thinking, God, this is kind of big time stuff now, you know what I mean? But I can't complain now. I've had a decent run of it, and hoping this wild card, playing it early in this week, I think is probably going to make or break the whole season. I think, really, you know what I mean? Because it could go either way, you know what I mean? And I could be sitting here in 27 or 29 having already blown my wild card, and everyone else is just getting on theirs, and that could really kill my season, you know what I mean? But we'll see what happens.
I was going to say before the launch of FPL, Jamesy, with its top 10K finish.
I could put it in my bio then, can't I?
That's it, mate. Then it's legit.
Well, I was going to say before we have a look at mine and Andy's team, might have a little run in here. I don't know what's going on here. Unannounced, sneaking in through the back door here. Speaking of top 10K, on the bottom 10K is Matty Edwards.
Go on, Matty.
Now, boy, this is just a quick run in because I've seen the thing before. What's going on with all this Haaland talk here, Ben, in the draft? Everyone's trying to poach him off me. What's going on?
I was saying in the group chat before, I was at Matty's stag at the weekend, and we were watching Liverpool, and like Darwin had just put one in, and we were on a table in Nottingham Hooters, surrounded by Liverpool supporters. I was like, this is my chance. So I was like, I tried to offer Matty a trade of Darwin for Haaland.
Fill him full of drink and then try and get him to swap.
Not on me.
My vision was, Jamesy, like all the other lads around the table were going to go, oh yeah, Darwin, yeah, he's a red, yeah, you want to get him in? Oh, look what he just did. And I'd be like, yeah, and you know what? He's got a double coming up as well. You probably probably won't. I threatened to take your phone, didn't I, Matt? But we didn't get that.
Shocking behaviour, mate.
Sneaky move, Benno. Catch a man
James,
on his,
it's awful, isn't it,
his
mate?
most vulnerable, on his stag do, full of drink.
Awful.
His most vulnerable. Oh,
and I had Jordan as well. Jordan today trying to offer me 4 players. Haaland. It's serious now at the top, isn't it? I mean, we've got to survive at the bottom, but at the top,
bottom,
mate, it's getting a dog-eat-dog at the top.
That's it. You hold on to Haaland, Matty. He's the
That's
man
it,
who'll save
James.
you.
He's the only man who'll save me. But you know what, Ben? You know what? I'm doing all right. I've moved quite a bit up in the actual proper one now, and I'm happy with that. I'm like 130 odd now.
It matters now, does it? The proper one.
Yeah. You know what I've done, though? You'd be proud of me, boys. I got on Rashford way before like his hot streak. I made him captain weeks ago. So I had a double week as well with him. And I got 100 points on that week. I got 90 points. So I'm keeping Rashford to the end of the season now as my captain. So I'm happy with that.
Would you reckon that good tactic going forward? We've just been talking Rashford up there. Got a lot of doubles coming up though as well, Matty. Have you been on the transfer planners and stuff that we're gonna have on screen in a minute? You know, all the
yeah, but you know what? I've actually the draft. I went in for 2 transactions today on the draft, so I'm being a bit more like planning for that because if I go down, boys, I go down. To be honest with you, but I do obviously the competitor in me wants to stay up, but you know, I am a novice overall, but you know, I'd like to stay up. I'd like to.
I love that. I love that you're holding Haaland. You're holding. I honestly was considering offering you some cash. I think you might be taking it early this season. We'll see.
See how serious it's getting though. But no, I just thought I'd chime in, boys, just to say like I'm just glad it's back this because I do need to start like taking proper tips now. You know, getting in the nitty-gritty, aren't we? What's that?
I'm guessing we're the only FPL podcast you're listening to, then. It's just us. A lot of pressure there.
Of course.
None of this James are playing FPL, Jamesy. None of like FPL black box. No, not burning questions. GRAPPL FPL club. I don't know if that's your best and only source, mate. We try, though. We try.
Now, don't get me wrong. I've screenshotted some stuff that Chris has put in. I've got that saved to my phone in my back pocket. I have. Don't think I'm not watching, and my eyes and my ears aren't there, boys. To tell you.
Love it.
I can see that you've managed to bring in Diego Costa in the draft league. So that should work out well for you, Matty.
Yellow card.
You've been ironic there, Chris. You know what I've done? Because bloody who forgot Adam Armstrong for something is like my 3rd striker. And I thought to myself, why is Costa? Don't tell me Costa's injured, Chris.
No, he plays a good 10 minutes every week.
Oh,
Comes on for 10 minutes, gets the yellow card and gets off. That's what he does every week.
He probably plays more than Armstrong, though, doesn't he?
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
There's always a danger of reminders with him, though.
I know, that's it, James. I'm just hopefully just getting because it's a double week. I just thought, I need someone to give me something, some hope at least. And I got Riemann because all my defenders, Cresswell, Canate, Zuma, they've all been injured.
I think you missed out on Ream.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, go to there, Chris. You killed me right now.
Is
Jordan, that isn't it? Is that Jordan?
No, JP, isn't it? Houlihan. Yeah.
Oh, JP. Oh, sorry, yeah, JP. I might have to offer him something, Ben. All my defenders, mate, obviously they've all got reds by them. It's like they're all injured or something. Reece James back now as well because he needs to be doing something.
No, he's injured again, isn't he?
Yeah, he's out again. But you've still got Haaland. That's the main thing. That's all you need, mate. Come on, team. Well,
he's had a bit of a sticky bit the past few weeks, though, hasn't he? He's not as consistent as he was.
Yeah, that's it. Well, check your inbox, mate. Might make an offer, maybe when you're back.
Listen, no one come at me with Haaland because it's going to just get the red button, boys. But
it only takes you pressing the wrong button once. That's what
I was waiting for.
Chris, don't get me wrong, mate. Hey, I've had exams and everything today. My eyes are funny, but I still seen that red when Benno's finger was made up when I pressed it. The cheek, honestly, the absolute cheek of it. No, but listen, boys, it was only a quick run in. You have a good show, and I'll speak to you all soon. Take it easy, boys.
See you
Nice
later.
one,
Ta-ra,
Matty.
boys. Ta-ra. Ta-ra. Oh,
There we go.
my God.
Great Matty Evans. We had Matty heard there was a podcast going on GRAPPL and he wasn't on it, so that's it. We should have talked as well about, like, in that Hooters, like I said in the group chat, we were all sat there, and fucking Chris Wood walked in, like, considering Forest had just played City over the road from Hooters in Nottingham, and he was
scored
sat
the
there.
equaliser as well, didn't he?
He scored
Oh,
that
yeah.
game.
He sat there wolfing down some wings and having a drink. And, like, there's these, like, City fans trying to start on him. And it was just like, I get it if it was the other way round. And it was like, you know, some jumped up, like Mahrez walks in or something like that. Some jumped up City player on his, you know, hundreds of millions who's just, like, you know, just scored a last minute goal against poor Nottingham Forest. It's like, as a City fan, I feel like you've just got to be like, well done, mate, congrats. Like, why would you try and start a fight? You know, let the man have his chicken wings. Unbelievable. Which I should have done for Matty as well, but worth a try. But anyway, after that distraction, yeah, we've got to have a quick look at your team over the last few weeks, Andy. How things been going for you, mate? Have you been resisting the urge to splash too many points? How's the last few weeks story gone for you? You can see there 93 in game week 22, even without a triple captain Rashford, which is
a good week. Good week, that one. That was the one where Rashford had a double, weren't it? So I think he was the obvious choice to go for. But the Ireland,
even though, like,
the
triple captain, like, chip, it's like, it's, you know, it's right and great that Jamesy and Chris pulled it on that week. But the difference isn't huge, is it? You know what I mean? You still got 40 points from regular league captain, and, you know, that 20 points, you know, could theoretically be made up elsewhere with an old triple. But yeah, 93 game week 22, 73 game week.
To be honest with that one, Benno, 73. You think, bloody hell, I've had a good week, and I think that's the week where Chris was saying, like, I got 10 points above the average and still moved down. It just felt like a week where it just didn't feel like a 73-point week. It just felt like abject disappointment, which I should be used to being a Rochdale fan. But
but yeah, 24, bit of not really a bounce back with 53 points from that. Still above the average though. And like I say, another sneaky little 4-pointer there. But you're not looking in bad shape. And yeah, pretty okay kind of 3-week period, I'd say overall.
Yeah, it's been very steady on the overall. I think I'm about 1.2 million, which, you know, compared to 6.4 million about 6 weeks ago, it's, you know,
there you go.
Got to be happy with it. I think my team from last week, well, I stuck Badashiel in for Chelsea because, you know, they're playing in week 25 and week 28 when the blanks are, and then they throw in a shitter, and don't they, and lose against Southampton. Matoma didn't turn up this week. My worst one, I fell foul of Pet Roulette, Mahrez. I think it was, is he called FPL? Like Luke on Twitter, he does like the Manchester City prediction.
Table,
yeah, and reading him on Thursday, Friday last week, and he's going for, right, Champions League is coming up. Generally, he leaves Mahrez for Champions League, so he won't be playing. And the thing was, I took Bruno Fernandes out for Mahrez because thinking, well, Man United haven't got the game in 25, and Man City had like Bournemouth and Notts Forest coming up. You're thinking, right, Mahrez will play, get a goal against them. Scratching his arse on bench instead, isn't he? Getting 0 points. What an absolute shitter that were. And then Fernandes got, I think, 10 points, didn't he, last week?
Yeah. That one hurt me too, shipping him out. It was a painful one.
I think a good choice of mine, what I did was stick Raya in instead of Ramsdale. Got one extra point there. He's going to be worthwhile coming up in the next couple of weeks, you know, when we go through the double game weeks, because Brentford have got a couple, haven't they, coming up?
They have, 27. They're going to be up against Everton and Southampton, which is as solid as a double you can hope for there. But I was going to say, Andy, I think the biggest thing is, like, for you, it's big picture, like you said there, considering where you were before, like, the Christmas break. Like, I've got that up on the screen there. Like, look at that. Like, Game week 16, 5.5 million odd you were. Like that's a steady climb, even since we last recorded, into the millions. Like that's, close to 1 million. You'll be in the 900,000s in no time there. That's massive, isn't it? So you gotta be happy overall. Those little, and that's the thing. I think you're being smarter about the hits. It's little 4 points here and there, isn't it? Rather than going wild with like the 12-point hits and stuff like that.
I think it's one of them you've got to think of. Right, I've obviously no chips left, but thinking, right, I can do my free transfer, because I do my free transfer straight away once the the site's updated on Saturday. I get my free transfer sorted out there and then, so it's like forgotten about. And if I wanted to, I'd just go to a -4 maybe, which is possibly my strategy over the next couple of weeks. But with your team, you've got to try and think, I don't want to get rid of my best players, which is like your Trippiers, Saka, Haaland, Kane, all them, Rashford, because there's a lot of money tied up in them. But if you sell them, you've got to get them back, and you might not have the the funds. So it's just, to be honest, it's a lot of tinkering around with a couple of positions. You were saying about Newcastle earlier, last three games.
You had triple Newcastle defence at one point, didn't you?
Yeah, and last 3 games they've failed. So I'm sort of going away from. I'm like keeping Trippier, but going away from Burn and Botman, and maybe go back to them down the line. And it's going with, your Brighton and Brentford. But we'll chat about that. But yeah, no, fairly happy with what I have been getting. But yeah, that 73-point week, I just like, God, I should have had more feeling coming out of that, but I didn't.
Yeah, one of those weeks. But like I say, got to look at that overall.
I was just going to say there, Benno, look at the value of Andy's team. Can you bring up that screen you just had up again there? It was like 104.5 million or something.
Oof, look at that.
That's unbelievable. I think that's because exactly what you said, because you do the transfer straight away.
Yeah.
Because what will often happen in a game week is somebody becomes hot property, and over the course of the game week, their price goes up and up and up. Whereas if you're just banging now there's a risk involved with what you're doing as well, because you buy Bruno Fernandes, say on the Sunday night, and then he gets injured on the Tuesday, you're fecked. You know what I mean? So like there is a risk attached to it, but making transfers early, like look at the amount of money. That's unreal.
Funnily enough, you say
that is an advantage. That's an extra player, basically.
Funnily enough, James, you say that. So I've actually brought Darwin in for this week, and then I spotted, excuse me, on Monday evening. Fucking hell, he's got an orange flag against him.
Yeah.
No.
That's the risk.
Yeah, because he picked up like a shoulder knock during Saturday's game, but thankfully he did play in the Champions League.
He's grand.
I was cursing me. I was cursing myself, just looking for news. Like, is he fit? Is he fit?
Well, that's the thing. I think that's chip strategy is one that most wouldn't have employ in the the quote unquote FPL community. The transfer strategy maybe isn't one that people would do that early. Most people, like, I'm waiting this week for news on Mitrovic before I make a move. But the longer I wait, the more things are changing, and I wanted to get Darwin and Salah in this week. I can't do that now. I'm like 0.1 away from doing that now. Like, you avoid kind of those problems, and it goes in the opposite direction, like James said.
With Mitrovic, it says he doesn't look like he's going to play. But then again, the manager's played that card before, and he said, "Oh, he's not playing," and then he turns up on Saturday and scores 2 goals. I can't believe it.
That's the thing. But no, overall, big picture, Andy. Looking good, and I wish I could say that about myself. I'll keep mine extremely brief, so we'll get to the good stuff, which is the double game weeks upcoming, and James E's wild card. But just briefly from me, game week 22 came out with 87 points. Didn't do the triple cash captain Rashford. Wish I'd given that more consideration, because that is really
he just smashed that week.
Oh, that is really big. I know that would have took me over the 100 club. I would have loved that. Yeah, and that's burning a hole in my pocket now, because it's like I don't really. I think I thought there was going to be a Haaland week that was going to be better, and how quickly that can change. Because now I'm like, don't know. Not that I'd turn my nose up at a nice big Haaland week if when one does land, but at the same time, it's I might be waiting a while for that one. And also, who knows where we're going to be. So definitely regret that. And yeah, like you say, Chris, could have been an over 100 week. So that was 22, 23, 76 points. Pretty good overall, just above the average. But like you lads were saying, one of those weeks where people high up the leagues were doing very well. Happy to have stuck with Mahrez that week. And this week, game week 24, 52 points. Not amazing. The one thing I am glad I did when we were there in Nottingham, I was hanging out my arse on Saturday morning. I checked our group chat and I saw one Crystal and I pointing out some of the early news coming through that it didn't look like Martinelli was going to be starting for Arsenal. So with Trossard coming in for him, so I made the sideways switch from Martinelli to Odegaard. In the end, there were 2 points in it. Is what it is, but if I had a free transfer there, Ben, and a hole in my pocket, I suppose I could have held on for this week. But yeah, those 2 points make up the say I do have to make a -4 at some point. That's half of it done already, so I'll take that. I'm feeling in better shape with Odegaard sat there, but main success story for me right now is sticking with Kane, which, as James said earlier, is probably something I'm gonna continue to do. And yeah, like I say, I've got the Arsenal boys I want this week. Maybe not quite as many as I have in the draft, where I at one point had about 6 Arsenal players, but still,
I've given you all as well, Benno.
Yeah, I know. Got them all from you in trades. It's a bit more reasonable now. I think I'm back down to 4 again, but it was looking good that I wanted the full Arsenal starting 11 for my draft team. That would have been fun. Don't know what trades I would have to do to make that happen, but yeah, an overall an average few weeks for me, but definitely moving in the right direction after a poor start to this second half of the season. But yeah, feeling good about where I am, and yeah, I mean, I think the question for me going forward, and the question is the same as for everyone else. It's what to do in these blanks and doubles coming up. As we heard earlier, Jamesy has already made the big move as far as the wild card goes. But yeah, for anybody watching or listening to this who's still trying to make up their plans of what they're going to do, thanks to Ben Crellin on Twitter, who's a must follow, isn't he, James? You definitely if you're not following him already, get him and James at Planet FPL as far as fixture planning and predictions and the like. Are absolutely your men. He's right on it. You guys were like talking transfers in our group chat the other day, and literally like 5 minutes later he popped in with the double game week announcement. 5 minutes after that, he'd given you the planner already and the likely fixtures going forward. He's the man for all that stuff. But look at that, lads. As far as a few weeks coming up, it's going to be a nightmare to work our way through. Where are people going to use in the wild cards? You still have them. Where's the bench boots going to come in? Where's the free hit going to come in? Varying plans going through the FPL community, but sounds like Jamesy, you've made your mind up already on what your plan's going to be to navigate these crazy next few weeks.
Yeah, and it's not something I see many other people doing. There's a few people on Twitter doing it, but like my initial thought was, which I think will be a very popular one, is to play it in 27. Because basically, if you play a wild card in 27, you can really attack the doubles in both 27 and 29, because there's you've got the likes of Brentford and Brighton who double in both. And then if you wanted to, then you could play the free hit in between. So wildcard 27, free hit 28, and then even bench boost in 29 if you wanted as well. And I think that'll be one of the more widely used tactics. And I just thought that instead of doing it in 27, I just thought maybe playing the wild card a little earlier than 25 would suit my team a little bit better, because the team I had, there was quite a few things I wasn't happy with, and it wasn't very well set up for the double in 25, and then just things like I didn't feel like I was on the best Arsenal players. Like I was on Martinelli, and he's become he was dropped. And then he's getting subbed off.
Right there, isn't he?
And I got lucky last week because he scored at the end of the game, a fluky enough kind of a goal when the keeper came up for a corner.
Fuming about that.
Yeah, and I kind of felt like I'll take that as a parting gift from Martinelli and get off him. So I was looking at 25 and I was like, right, I want to get on Liverpool players. I want to juggle the Arsenal players around. I think I was on double Newcastle defence for quite a while. I felt like maybe that's not going to be viable moving forward. They seem to be conceding goals again, kind of, or not keeping clean sheets at the very least. And Newcastle don't play this week. So I was looking at my team and going, God, like I would happily make 8 or 9 changes to my team here, and then I would be happy with it. You know what I mean? And then what I did was I did up a draft wild card for what I would do in 27, and I kind of looked at my team for 25, and I was thinking, do you know what? There's not a massive amount of difference between the players I've picked for this and what I would do in 25, and it gives me an opportunity to get a lot more points in 25 than I would have done if I just kept my team, or like I would have ended up maybe taking a minus 12 or something like that. You know what I mean? So you're down 12 points, and 12 points is a massive amount of points. You know what I mean? So I thought, okay, let's just go with it instead. And I've kind of planned it out where I'll have 10 players on the pitch in 25, and 6 of those will double. In 27, I'll have 4 players doubling. And they're the 4 players I'd want to double in the Brentford. Like, it's Brentford and Brighton that are doubling. So I'll have Raya, I'll have Matoma, I'll have Estupiñán, and I'll have Tony. So I'm like, they're the 4 guys you'd want. I will be able to get 9 or 10 players on the pitch for 28 without playing the free hit. And then I'll have, with transfers, I'll nearly be able to bench boost in 29. I'll have 11 or 12 players doubling, and the players not doubling are the likes of Saka, Odegaard, and Haaland. So I feel like it's a really good compromise wild card that kind of really sets. I can navigate nicely through 25 to 29, where a lot of people who will wild card in 29 will use their free hit in 28. I'll be able to avoid that. So I'll come out of it at the end of 29 still with my free hit in my pocket. I may or may not play the bench boost. I probably will play the bench boost in 29 just to get rid of it, because it can mess your team up trying to build up towards a bench boost. And I think having a free hit at that point going into game 30 is very valuable, because 32 is going to be, like, you look at that 32, that's going to be a bloodbath. There's going to be so many blanks in that way. It's not even so many blank matches. It's the way the matches fall. You're probably going to get Chelsea against United not happening, which is a lot of players for people. You're going to get Arsenal. Who are Arsenal playing that week? Southampton are still in the cup. So if they make the semi-finals, Arsenal won't play. What's the other big one is Tottenham, Newcastle. So, like, straight away, a lot of the highly owned assets mightn't play. So you very well might want to have your free hit then, or you might want to play the free hit in one of those big double game weeks, 34, 37, So it suited my team, as I said, and it was specifically because I was not happy whatsoever with the way my team looked for 25. And I now am, and I'm happy. A website I would recommend to people is FPL Team. Where you can do your transfers. But I find just doing the transfers on the FPL website, what you really need to do then is look at what those transfers look like each game week. You know what I mean? Because you actually get to see, God, who would I put on the bench that week? That week, maybe that's the week I can then bring in this guy and drop that guy. And I just feel like it's a nice way of negotiating these 5 or 6 weeks where I don't suffer in any of those weeks. You know what I mean? Whereas I think if you play the wild card in 27, you probably suffer in 28, and you're also taking hits in 25. And I won't take any hits any week from 25 to 29. So, like, there's a lot of those weeks I'll be up on people who are having to take hits every week.
Jamesy, I was going to say that I was doing that team planner as well. And with my team, if I make like 1 or 2 moves to like an extra Brighton or an extra Brentford, so when it gets to like 27 and 28, there's players from like Newcastle and Man United that are ending up on my bench just because I want the double games of them.
That's
two.
The risk, isn't it?
Yeah,
I've done the exact same thing in 27. I've looked at my team and it's like, to get doublers in, I'll be benching Arsenal players when they're away to Fulham. I'll be benching United players at home to Southampton. I'm looking at it going, maybe I don't need to bring my team for that. Maybe I need to hold fire, because there's going to be, we can't win every one of these double game weeks, can we? There's going to be whatever strategy you employ, Chris, one of these weeks is gonna be the bloodbath for you, isn't it? And it's like accepting where that's gonna happen. And I'm wondering whether Brentford and Brighton I can probably live without for the most part. Maybe have one player in there that kind of works for my team. It's not unprecedented, but like it's rare for it to be this wild, like as far as the doubles go. Just looking at that and like not pictured there on Ben Crellin's chart. He's got the probable 34 doubles in there, but as Jamesy rightly said, there's expected to have a reasonably sized double in 37 as well.
Yeah.
Like how do you navigate this, Chris? Like Jamesy's got his plan. I like that plan. But what are you thinking?
It's an absolute minefield, as you say. I mean, the lad, is it James, that does the fixtures as well as on the podcast? He was saying how the Premier League have backed themselves into a corner where there's one game that can't fit in anywhere at the moment. So who knows what's going to happen with that? But by the time we get past this, I think by the time you're in 34, that's when I'm hoping to still have my wild card. So I'm kind of like, I'm taking 28 probably just as a week off and not really worrying about how that falls out. You've got to wait for the FA Cup games anyway, so you don't want to be planning too far ahead. But I mean, the cup games, you're kind of thinking there won't be that many upsets. So, because I mean, you're looking at Brighton have got Stoke. Leicester have got Blackburn. I'd expect Blackburn to win that, but that's me.
Great if they did.
Man City, Bristol City, they should win that. Spurs have got Sheffield United. They should win that. United and West Ham. The conspiracy theorist in me says that West Ham win that because the referees screw United over just so that United can get some more Premier League fixtures in, sort of thing. Because I think they've got scheduling problems if they keep on going too far in all these tournaments.
And United winning tonight is a disaster for planning. I mean, because if they keep playing midweek games in Europe, there's going to be some amount of backlog. They're in a final this week. If they stay in the FA Cup, it's going to be like, in a way, it'll be great for the game because you'd have so many United doubles. You could load up on United players towards the end of the season because they'll be playing doubles every week. Like
they could play triple 37 or something.
It could be something mad like that.
It could be something.
Has that ever happened where a team's had like a triple game week? Has it happened many a time?
Once or twice, I think it is. Yeah, and the thing is that it sounds like the stuff of dreams, but the thing, imagine the rotation. Like that's the thing. Your chances to get someone who's going to play 3 times. Maybe the goalie. Everyone like triple captain. Your best tip on one of them. Like anyone then.
The Man United midfield for a game would be that Mainu guy that's just started and Ganacio, and that'd be about it.
But great for the draft.
Good point. Could take some risks there. Could be fun,
I mean, the way I've kind of looked at it, I was just kind of thinking, ideally, I'm going to try and bench boost 29, and then free hit 32, and then wild card 34, something like that. Then.
So you're going to bench boost before the wild card, is what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm going to try and plan it out for the next couple of weeks to try and get enough players in 29 to make it worth it. But we'll see how it goes. But I think 29, you could really attack that week with all the double game week teams. But I mean, that could be a free hit week instead of 28, where you're just trying to make up the numbers. 29, you're actually attacking the week, trying to get the better players in, sort of thing. Well, that makes sense.
That's the thing, that to your credit to what you're saying there, like 29 is like the one that's getting talked up. It's the one that's just been announced. It's the big double game week. But when it's a big double game week, you can almost fall into it, can't you? Like you literally like, it'd be hard not to have 11 doublers, like based on like, obviously, Arsenal missing and there's ideal players you want from there, but they're playing Leeds at home anyway. Like it's actually,
I think.
You wouldn't really touch Liverpool from that, isn't it? Man City and Chelsea
away, both of them.
And then they've got Arsenal the following week, sort of thing.
It's not a great, when you actually look at the matches teams have, the teams you'd want to have really good matches don't really. Brighton have a nice one. I think Brentford at home, Bournemouth away. That's a nice double game week. But again, like Notts Forest have a lovely one, but who wants Notts? Like the Wolves and Leeds? That's a great double.
You probably have.
Are you really going to get on Notts Forest players?
Brennan Johnson would be the one, wouldn't he?
Yeah,
from Nottingham Forest.
But like it's and the games the big teams have. Just what you were saying there, Chris, as well about the FA Cup. One of the most important matches of the FPL season is the FA Cup match between
Fulham and Leeds.
Fulham against Leeds. Because if you would expect Fulham to win that, and if they do, it means Liverpool blank in 28. But if Leeds did go there and pull off a shock, that suddenly means a lot of people won't play their free hit chip, because a lot of people are going to load up on Liverpool this week because they have a double.
Yeah.
If you had 3 Liverpool players and they suddenly don't blank in 28, suddenly the need for you to play that chip, and it's a nice game they have. It's Fulham at home as well. It's not a bad fixture. A lot that would that could have a huge bearing, and that's one of the weaknesses of my policy of playing the wild card now is I don't know the result of that game, so it makes it hard for me. So it will have happened by the time I've played the card. I've played the wild card now. It's too late. So the people who are waiting to play their wild card in 27 have a great advantage there. If they will know for sure what's happening with that Liverpool game, because I think that would be the difference between maybe playing your free hit and not playing your free hit.
Yeah, I'm one of those, I think every year I always leave it too late with the wild card. So I massively admire your strategy, Jamesy. I think
we'll see.
No, the positive is, you're pretty much, you've got a good idea of from now to 29. It's what's further in the future. It's, obviously that 28 is might be a fly in the ointment, and then it's, the further away you get from your wild card, the less effective it's going to be, for 34 and 37. Yeah. But I think I lean into that too heavily, because I will, every season I do this, I just use my wild card as late as possible. I swear there was a season where most of the content creators and myself included held on to it to something daft like game week 35, and it's just at that point, what's the point? It's not even a wild card, it's basically a free hit. You're getting 3 game weeks out of it. So the positive is you're getting a longer stretch out of it, aren't you, even if that weakness does come later. But I think my tendency is to go late, and that's where I'm leaning at the minute. I'm quite well set up for this game week with a couple of transfers. As I mentioned, the more I look at the planner, the more I think at 27 is a bit of a bogey game week. Maybe a Matoma comes in, maybe a Jimmy Tony comes in. Maybe that's what I look at there. I'll never let that one go. 28 is, anyone who's not watching the graphic who happens to be listening on the podcast, like we've said, that could be a bloodbath as far as blanks go that week. But again, the way I'm wired as a manager, I come into it with the attitude of, I don't want to use my free hit in a blank. I don't want to use that in 28. I want to use it in a 29 where I can have the 11 best possible doublers. But again, as I said before, there's a chance I might fall into 29, and a very good chance for there based on my squad at the minute with a strong 11, regardless of doing that. So,
you've got four or 5 transfers for free between now and 29. So you should realistically be able to get your team in good enough position to navigate that, and then only need to take a 4.8 point hit at that stage to get what you'd be able to get off a free hit, really. This week, I don't feel the need that you need to jump out and get every... I don't feel that you need 6, 7, 8, 9 doublers, because a lot of the teams doubling aren't... I mean, Liverpool, obviously, attacking options are great, but Everton, Wolves, you're not jumping over yourself to try and get them players in.
And you're stuck with them then, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's it. I think people have really taught themselves into the idea that Tarkowski's going to score a header. But, just to rattle off random stats, but in the top 5 leagues in Europe, the percentage of chance scoring from a corner is 3 to 4%. Everton get 5 corners a game. So, you're getting 4% chance 5 times a game, and then it needs to be Tarkowski that headers it and gets it in. So, you look at a minuscule ideal of the chance that he'll score.
He's definitely going to do it now.
Yeah, he's definitely going to do it now. But I mean, you play the numbers.
We'll clip this. We'll use it next time. This is the intro.
But you play the numbers. He scored a header 3 weeks ago. They've only had 15 corners in that time. You're looking at least until the end of this season before he scores another goal direct from a corner on the law of averages sort of thing. So I think
the only thing about him is he will play in 28, and he will play in 32 as well. So he is a
And
decent.
Forest next week.
Yeah. So he's a decent long-term pick in terms of you can sit him on your bench most of the time, and then like he will be a body on the pitch in those blanks as well. So that's something at least.
Yeah, I mean, you could look at Conor Cody or Michaelenko. I think Michaelenko has probably got a better attacking presence because he's the wing back. He gets further forward. If he ever scores from open play, he's got a good chance of providing the ball in, sort of thing. So
as we were chatting, Chris, as we were chatting earlier, good old Seamus Coleman, 15 points this week.
Yeah,
he was free in the draft as well until last
I had
week.
Him. I had him as well, Seamus.
Nice one.
Yeah, mad one. I mean, it looks like he's in for a couple more games as well because Patterson's still out. So if you did hoard Patterson on your bench for a while, it's time to shift him out. But
a lot of people did, didn't they? A lot of people went early on Patterson, and it's not worked out.
Patterson and Bueno, it's not really worked out for either. I don't think that well.
I was keeping the two of them, and that's another reason why it makes sense for me to play the wild card now because what if I had kept them? What would you get combined from both of their double game weeks? If you got 3 or 4 points, you'd probably be delighted,
Yeah, I was going to say, I think Patterson's probably a 0 and Bueno might be a 3.
He might start. He might start one and be on the bench for the other, but like it's 2 away games. It's Liverpool away and someone else away. Who is it there?
Fulham away as well.
Fulham away. They're 2 very hard matches. Fulham are very good. So I mean, it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's it. I think people have been working themselves into a shoot with this, to use a wrestling phrase, with this double this week and the double in a couple of weeks. But like it's so hard because like I say with my plan, I think probably late wild card. I think probably late bench boost. In 34, maybe even 37. Later on, that's probably the way around I'm going to do it. But I think the main thing I'm thinking is just to stay open, like to the possibilities and kind of. Right now, I think that's my plan, but it might just turn out a couple of injuries here, a couple of injuries there, depending on how the cup fixtures figure out with 28. I might move then. I might move the week before. I might move the week after. The thing you keep hearing, isn't it? It's team dependent, but it's also keep open to where it could go.
That's the thing. I'd just say the best thing you can do if you've got time. Obviously, you got to remember the deadline's 6:30 tomorrow. So 6:30 on Friday. If you do get a chance to have a quick look on one of the draft sites for 30 minutes or whatever and have a play around going forward for a couple of games and see what it is. But I don't think you need to overhaul your team for this specific week. I don't think there's any players.
Well, most of us have got 3 Arsenal, haven't we? Most
people will have 3 Arsenal and might already have one of the Liverpool players, sort of thing. But you don't need to run out and get 2 Everton players and 2 Wolves players because if you're spending -4 on each of those transfers, if you get a net neutral on all of those -4s, then that's probably as good as you're going to do. Then what was the point in the first place?
And Man City have a lovely fixture.
Yeah, it only costs 2 points because you're if you do a transfer and they play twice, you get two
a -4 is a -2.
Yeah, you can be. It's a nothing now, basically, isn't it? Because you might be shipping out someone who's blanking. So there you go. You're starting from 0 either way. Yeah, we convince ourselves of these things, don't we? Just because it feels good, doesn't it? As Andy knows, it feels good to just go, bring in a doubler. I'll take a hit here and there. That's just it, isn't it? It's part of the joy of the game as well, though, isn't it?
That's it. I mean, it depends how you want to play, but I'm averse to taking hits as much as I can because I'll start this game week. 8 points, 12 points ahead of a lot of people. And
you're on the green arrow straight away.
Exactly, yeah. So, we'll see how it goes.
What are you thinking, Andy? Well, what's your game plan over the next few weeks? Looking at that is that a scary graphic or is it a challenge?
Yeah, so like for this week, I took out Mitrovic, who's injured, and put Darwin Núñez in. I'm falling for it again. The old Darwin problem. He's looked all right last couple of games. Looked very sharp.
Good,
Got a good couple of fixtures. I know they've struggled against Crystal Palace in the past, haven't they? That's one of their bogey fixtures, and what Wolves have done them over this season. So God knows what's going to happen. I've like I said earlier, I took one of the Newcastle defenders out, put Kilman in, and then. Like I marked down what I'm going to do for the next couple of weeks. So I'm going to take Darwin out, week 26, put Ivan Toney in. Bit of a gamble, but
still playing. Still playing.
Still playing.
And watch his yellow cards. He's on 8 yellow cards now.
Yeah.
If he hits 10, it's a 2-game ban. So he doubles in 27. So if he gets one, like do you really want to buy him in 27 if he's on 9? Because and that also means then that ruins the 2 double game weeks because he blanks in 28. So if he gets a 2-game ban, that'll run in, or if he gets his 10th yellow card during the double game week, that ruins the next double game week as well. So it's like, he's risky. Remember what happened with Mitrovic? Did we all have Mitrovic the double game week and then he got booked?
It's literally the gamble you take, isn't it? With Toney, but
2 peas in a pod, you and Tony, and he's a possible Ogden there. Someone should definitely.
Jimmy Ogden.
Yeah. Week 27, I was going to go Mahrez to Alexis McAllister, Brighton, because he's obviously going to be an option. He's been tipped up by your FPL Andy, and that is playing in more attacking position. And the famous XG, his XG is nice, and he's worth a dabble. And then I'm going to go Kilman to a Stupinan in defence because he's got the double game. It's one of them. I might go a week earlier and put like a Stupinan in for take Kilman out. And then week 28, I was going to go to take Badashil out from Chelsea and go back to either Danburn or Botman because they've got some good fixtures coming up Newcastle from 28 onwards. But
you might as well keep Badashil in because he's going to have a game that week.
Yeah, but are Chelsea really that any better?
Well, I mean, we'll see by the time, but they're only playing Everton, so it's not like they're going to score, is it?
Yeah.
Well, the one consistent thing, not right now, not with the way he's training those players, bleep tests and all kinds. But I was going to say, Chris, to that point, like 28 and 29, like talking broader chip strategy, that's going to be the conversation. I think especially free hit. I think people who still have the free hit. It's that philosophical question, isn't it, between using it in a blank in what will probably be 28 and using it to get yourself 11 out, or as we were saying before, to use it in 29 or later to give yourself the best possible doublers. Like, do you have do you land on either side of that? Is it just dependent on where you are in the world, or because I lean to the latter. There's just something about a blank game week where I'm like, if I can get 7 out, with a hit maybe it's 8. I'm more like that than I am I really loathe using a free hit in a week like that.
Yeah, I think I would lean towards free hit 29 over 28. I think, particularly with how long, as I say, I'd have got 5 transfers between now and then, now and 28 to get things sorted out. So I think if you do a bit of planning, you should be able to navigate 28. And as you say, even if you only get 7 or 8 players out,
most people will. That's the thing, isn't it? Most people will.
And then you can free hit 29. I know James says that they're not the most enticing games for the big teams, but you've got enough options there to really. I like Brighton. You could easily get your defenders from there, or your attackers from Brentford, that sort of thing. So
I was gonna ask about, because I've been looking at that Evan Ferguson for Brighton. Do you think he's a good option? Because he's only got a couple of 2 points his last couple of games. But I mean, going forward for them doubles, would you say he's a good choice instead of like Toney?
The price is the big attraction. Like he's the only 4.5 million striker in the game who gets game time. I do think he's their first choice, but they also have Danny Welbeck and that guy
Undav.
Yeah, so there is competition. He will play 60 minutes in the games he starts, but if you're doing something like a wild card or a free hit, he's a great guy to have, because that's 4.5 million. Like that's 3 million cheaper than most of the strikers who do play. That's 3 million you can use elsewhere in your team, But you have to be careful with the Brighton assets. Like there is no point in loading up on, like we said, on 3 Brighton and 3 Brentford, because as you guys said, the fixtures in 27, the first week they double, are so good for the big teams. United, Southampton, Liverpool, Bournemouth, Arsenal, Fulham. You're not going to bench Odegaard, Saka in those games to play.
No.
Like I had a draft done at one point where I had Evan Ferguson in my team because I was thinking ahead of Brighton doubles. But when it came to it, I found like I was just leaving him on my bench every week. So it's like, what good is an asset that I'm leaving on the bench? I was leaving him on the bench for a double game week. It's like, well, what's the point of that? You know.
I remember earlier in the season, when I think it was Brighton, Crystal Palace, Brentford, we're all playing in like a midweek when no one else were playing, and you know, you'd be having Dunk. I think Dunk were got like a -3. It was Dunk, Veltman was the one, and you got totally done over by him.
So hard, wasn't it, as well?
I had on my time hop on my phone, it popped up last week. It was this time last year was that game week when we all had the two Watford forwards who were King
Manuel Dennis.
King and Dennis, and he got sent off.
Yeah.
Dennis.
And it was like
Dennis as captain, and he got -1, and he was a captain, so it was a fucking -2. Like, yeah. And then nobody was watching the second game.
So everyone was like jumping on Watford assets, and I was like, "That Watford? Like, what are they going to do? It's Watford." So I think people even triple captained him for that week because he'd scored a few.
But that's the thing, isn't it? One content creator starts talking about it, it just builds up and built, and then everyone's doing it. It's like Everton this week; everyone's doing it, so people find a foot. I fell into it last year, and literally it was this time last year. So that's maybe a lesson there. But I don't know. Any other broad thoughts on the on the next few weeks, Jamesy, or into the doubles in 34, 37? I think obviously, you know, the traditional, like I say, the traditional play is wild card straight into bench boost. Obviously, you're going opposite to that, but I think there'll be, you know, like I say, if I can hold off on it, I might not even use the free hit in 28 or 29. Maybe free hit will come out in 34 or 37. You know, they're kind of the optimum plays, aren't they? But as we keep saying, it's going to depend on where people's teams are at.
Yeah, I honestly, Benno, I would say free hitting in either 28 or 29 is not the best use of the chip. Like if you look at 28 and the teams that are definitely going to play there, you probably have 3 Arsenal. You probably have Trippier. He's going to play. Is Kepa your goalkeeper?
He is, yeah.
He's playing. That covers off.
Yeah.
And you might get lucky. Players. That covers off the highly owned. You might get Liverpool. You know, and after that, and look at the teams that are left playing games. The games aren't that attractive. You know what I mean? I really wouldn't panic about free hit in 28. I think it wouldn't be. And like in 29, you'll come to 29 and look at your team and go, I've got 10 players doubling. You know, and I think obviously I would make up a separate free hit draft and compare it and go, will I really get that much more points if I leave it? You know what I mean? Honestly, I think if you still have your free hit in your back pocket by game week 30, that could be really powerful later on. But your problem is you have your captain. Don't forget you need a game week put aside for your captain as well. You know, so like there will be small ones come up, but like, you know, your triple captain. I mean, sorry, like, you know, make sure you don't run out of double game weeks and be left in the chip at the end, like, as well, you know.
It'll end up being game week 37. No one will have anything to play for, and there'll be like 4 doubles, and it'll just be like, I haven't even got a prediction on how I'm going to do it. Like, there's even a possibility I might just go, you know what, Saka this week. Like, that might happen.
You could do Saka, Odegaard, Salah this week.
That's a nice double, Benno. Leicester away, Everton at home. Leicester's defense is rubbish. Everton, you know, relegation. I know they're more solid under himself, like, but
yeah, we did well against them, didn't we, at home? But this is away.
Not the worst week to play it, and a good week to get an advantage on people. But what I would say is United are going to end up with a rake of doubles. So, like, just bear that. There are doubles that we don't know about yet for United, and you could get a stroke of. Yeah, you could get a stroke of luck and get 2 lovely home games for him or something like that, you know.
And I'll be annoyed when he gets like 18 points and not quite the full 20, and I'll be like, for God's sake, because it's not much at the end of the day, is it really? But like, it'll feel like it is. No difference. Yeah. Feel like it is.
I think the triple captain's the weakest of the chips anyway. So
that's it. I mean, any other thoughts on the doubles, lads, coming forwards, or the blanks? Anything else on navigating that?
It's a wait and see. I think really wait for the FA Cup games and reassess in another game week.
Yeah, definitely.
Just for people planning ahead, I would say just bear in mind Aston Villa, Chelsea, and Newcastle, because if you look at the fixtures, they're the three teams with reasonable assets that they will definitely play in 28, and then the following week will double in 29. So, like if you don't have chips left and you're looking to get really good value for your that wouldn't be a bad -4 if you're getting in a good Chelsea asset or a good Villa asset for those 2 game weeks. You know what I mean? Because you're one transfer playing 3 times in the space of a couple of game weeks. So it's an awful pity Crystal Palace are so bad this year, because if you look at them, they have no blanks the whole way through.
Again, James.
Fucking no way. No. Never, ever again. Never happening. Don't care. Even if he transfers to a good team, I'm not going to fucking do it. Never.
Somebody offered it. I think it was Connor. I think it was. I don't want to blame him. Offered me him this week in a nice little straight swap of Martinelli. I turned him down. It made me think, but no. But yeah, there's plenty out there as far as resources. Just obviously we have Ben Crellin's transfer planner on there. Mentioned FPL.team. Definitely head there as far as planning your transfers going forward, and they have the transfer planner from Planet FPL there. People are making FPL focal here with a bloody a Venn diagram, trying to figure out who plays when. Look at stuff like that. You can look at who's playing both double game weeks 27 and 29, but also confirmed to play blank game week 28. It's that meme I said, it's like Always Sunny with Charlie on the wall with all the different bits of paper and arrows going everywhere. It's a complex time of year, but it's the fun time of year, isn't it, James? As we keep saying, this is what we play this game.
I love this time of year because it's as I said earlier in our chat, it's the time of year where the photo reel in your phone just becomes nothing but screenshots of you suddenly do a wild card draft and go, this is the one, I better screenshot it so I don't forget it later. And then you look back at your phone, you're like, Jesus, I've got nothing but 100, and my notes app on my phone is plans and what to do here and who to bring in, and like
we said, Jamesy, the more plans you make, the more you get to go, yeah, I had him. He was in draft 14.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so hard done by. You get to do that, don't you?
Or you assemble a really precarious house of cards where your transfer for the next 5 weeks. You go, I'm going to bring him in here, going to move him around, I'm going to put him on the bench. One injury and the whole thing is fucked, and you have to go back to the drawing board, and that's what'll happen. Or a Tony ban or something like that, So like, it's in a way we're fools to plan too far ahead, because like every single time you plan far ahead, this game bites you in the ass. You know what I mean? And 2 or 3, you suddenly wake up one morning and look at your team. There's three red flags on it. You're like, for fuck's sake, like what's happened here? So it's plan, but also realize that you have to be flexible and you have to think on your feet. And the amount of times I've put a big long plan in my notes app and look back at it and said, sure, I never did that, because suddenly I suddenly had 2 or 3 other fires to put out elsewhere in my team. So you have to be flexible as well.
Well, to that point, Jamesy, we've got some screen grabs of where your wild card is sat at the minute as we get into our teams for this week. How many changes have you made since you sent me the screen grab at 7:09 p.m. tonight?
There's already been a couple. There has, honestly, yeah.
Brilliant. I'll try and zoom in a little bit, but how are you shaping up? How's it looking in general?
Yeah, no, it won't change much. Like all I'm doing at the moment is changing around 4.5 million defenders and there's nothing. The big things won't change. You know what I mean? And I'm not going to go through it player by player. I'll be here all night. But there were players in it that I felt like I couldn't not have. I felt like selling Trippier wouldn't be the best idea, because you will want him back at some point, and everybody owns him. Obviously, you're going to keep Haaland. Obviously, you're going to keep Rashford. I felt like you have to keep Odegaard and Saka. And as I said, one of the things I wanted to do was get off Martinelli and get onto Odegaard finally. And as I said, like I kind of talked about it earlier, I feel like it is a balanced wild card where I'm not gone crazy on any of the double game weeks, but I have good players who are doubling in every game week, that kind of a way. And I also feel like it covers, like I have Mings, you might think Tyrone Mings, why would you have him in? But he's 4.3 million. He will definitely play in this game week. He will definitely play in 28. If we get that far, he'll play in 32, and he also doubles in 29. So he's, for a 4.3 million defender, not bad. You know what I mean? And similarly, Watkins, I think, is a good guy to have at the moment. He's really in good form. They sold Danny Ings, so there's no rotation risk. He's definitely going to play every week. The manager seems to really like him. And again, he will help in the blank game weeks when other people will be without players and that kind of thing. And yeah, as I said, I just, I'm trying to have players for all the doubles, but you can't, like I did a draft of this where I was like, right, I want 3 Brentford and 3 Brighton. I want to load my team up with those guys because they double in 27, 29. And I soon realized that meant benching the likes of Odegaard, Saka, Salah. In game weeks, they have great games. Do I want to what 3 Brentford players would I like to have in my team when the doubles are over? And it's like, okay, Raya, great keeper, and Tony. But then after that, you're like, Ben Mee. But then it's double Brentford defense you have. I have the keeper, so do I want a second defender?
I mean, that's what I have. I have a double Brentford defense. Well, I rotate between Raya and Ramsdale at the moment.
Yeah, and I think that's a decent tip as well for people is when you do play your wild card, try and make sure you have 2 goalkeepers that double in the week you do your bench boost, because you want to try and get the most. Like in 29, both Raya and Kepa have doubles. So things like that where you have to try and plan ahead. And as I said, like I again all week when I was doing my drafts for this, I was loading up on the Liverpool players, and I was like, I must have 3 Liverpool players for 25. And I realized that there's too much value in them. Like I had Trent in my team, and Trent is a decent punt for this week, but Trent has also been very poor this week. And Trent is still 7.3 million. You know what I mean? And I can use that. In the end, I took him out and I put a 4.5 million defender in instead of him who had a double. And it was like, I get the 2 games out of that guy, and that's 3 million I can use elsewhere in my team. So as I said, the main advice I would give people is don't go extra heavy on any one week, and try and think 3 or 4 weeks ahead and try and have a little for every week, kind of. You know what I mean? And I think that's the most balanced way to approach it, really.
Definitely. And you've got a captain option for pretty much all those doubles. I can already kind of work out the pattern there as well. Like, who's this week? Who's the captain this week?
I still think between Salah and Saka, I think. I'm leaning towards Salah, but I'll think it over for the rest of it. I don't know for sure. Like
head versus heart, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Like the thing with Salah is he could explode. You know what I mean? And we know he has it in him. And like if they lost 5-2 the other night against Real Madrid, if that was a Champions League game, he would have got 15 points or something like that, because he scored and he got an assist. So even in a loss, he looks a little bit more back to himself, I think. So yeah, we'll see. Like there's maybe 27. I'm hoping to bring Ivan Toney in. He'd be. I think he's nearly the best captaincy option that week. So it's the great thing about Haaland going off the boil is there's a bit more debate to be had about the captaincy, and it's an opportunity. Like when Chris when he got on Rashford when most other people had Haaland, there's opportunities now to go against him. You know what I mean? And you don't feel as scared to go against him anymore. And that's good for the game, I think. And that will start to differentiate things and help people move up their leagues very fast as well if they nail it,
You say that though, but he's against Bournemouth this week and he's probably scoring 4.
But there's that stat in there about in it like 6 of the last 10 away from home he's blanked, like goal wise.
Yeah, and that's away, isn't it? Bournemouth away, is it?
Yeah, Bournemouth away. Yeah,
like he's always an option. You can't discount him ever. I would usually favor the doubler, just for the fun of it, almost. You know what I mean? So I have 2 matches to watch. And
2 goals, that's it. Well, looking at your lot, Chris, you sent us 2 screenshots of 2 possible routes you're going to go. One was bringing Onana and Pickford in, and the other one was Mikalenko and Salah. Have you settled on either strategy for this week?
It's waiting on extra news for KDB, really, because if he's fit, then I'm keeping KDB over Salah, and I'm captaining Odegaard.
Interesting.
Which, I don't think anybody would be recommended to do, but Odegaard, because I've not got Saka, and I wouldn't put it on an Eddie Nketiah. Odegaard is, bonus point merchant. He'll get, 2 or 3 bonus points in pretty much every game he plays. He's good for an assist or a goal. So with a double game week, I wouldn't mind captaining him in that. If I did bring Salah in, I'd captain Salah. It was just kind of I made the wrong call on bringing Ederson in for Kepa. I chased the extra games sort of thing, even though Ederson's played almost double the amount of games than Kepa's had since the World Cup. Kepa's outscored him by about 10, 15, 20 points or something stupid.
Yeah. And don't bench Kepa is another lesson I've learned over the last few weeks. There's that week award. Don't even look at the fixture.
I wouldn't mind getting rid of Ederson while I've got the 2 transfers. And as I say, I'd go Mikalenko over Tarkowski just because I don't think Tarkowski's likely to get a goal, and Mikalenko's better from open play for assists and that sort of thing. And they both get the same clean sheet, so it's a differential in that sort of thing. If I was getting a keeper in Pickford because he's got the doubles and he doesn't have any blanks coming up.
No blanks.
And while the Everton defence isn't guaranteed clean sheets, he does make a lot of saves because the way the Deitch plays now is he forces people to take shots from distance. And one thing Pickford is good at is stopping shots from distance. So that should work in his favour sort of thing. Yeah.
When he had Pope at Burnley, it was exactly the same. He used to get so many save bonuses because, as you said, saving soft shots from distance. Yeah,
that's the thing. Yeah, they try to prevent high XG shots. Is one of the things Sean Dyche is known for, as his defensive.
We are Burnley now. This might as well be a Burnley mug. Might as well just swap the logo over and everything.
It's non-FPL related, but there is a great YouTube interview with Sean Dyche at the moment where he
you mentioned that,
he talks for about an hour and a half about his tactics and that sort of stuff. And there's an interesting one that he's been on the Ben Foster podcast as well. Talking just random stuff as well. So you kind of get an idea for the mindset of how he tries to set things up through that. And from an FPL perspective, it's really good for obviously defenders and the keeper with like Pickford and stuff. So could be worth looking at this tail end of this year, probably starting the next year sort of thing. You're probably thinking people will have an Everton defender in their team if you stay up, obviously. But
it's looking better now.
I'm just going to wait on KDB news. If nothing really comes out, I'll probably make the Salah switch because I'd rather have 180 minutes guaranteed than whether Pep roulette as to whether he wants KDB playing with the sniffles. So we'll see. But rest of the team's fairly set. I'm sticking with Kane. No real thoughts about moving down to Darwin. And I'm getting rid of Trippier over Shaw because I have more money tied up in Shaw. If I get rid of him, it cost me about 0.6, 0.7 to get him back. Whereas because I got onto Trippier quite late, it will only cost me 0.3 to get Trippier back in. So
it's a good point that people should pay attention to that. Obviously, if they are looking at both of them sitting on the bench this week and thinking, oh well, I'll get a player in, like double check how much you'd be selling them for and how much it costs you to buy them back because it might shock you with those two. But moving on to you, Andy. I'm gonna get a quick look at your lot for this week. Captaincy sitting on Darwin at the minute. You mentioned your transfers before. Going in at the minute with 9 men. Is that the plan, or are you going to be tempted? I mean, this feels like a Mr. Chips week to me. Like we said, a -4 is only a -2 if they give you the 2 players. They do a little bit less than that.
That's what I've done with Kilman, in it. A -4 is only a -2, to be honest. But no, I don't think there's any intention to get rid of.
Can I talk you into it? Because I was listening to Burning Questions today, and you know what? Never mind the -2 talk. They were literally like, "Well, right now, me and Shaw are making you 0, aren't you? If you spend 4 points each on bringing 2 players in who are playing twice." They're starting at 4 points. It's only upside after that, mate. It's a -0 at that point. Come on, Andy.
No. The thing is with Shaw, I've had him for quite a long time, so I've got money tied up in him. Ben Mee, as I've said, he's got the doubles coming up. I'm no chance I'm getting rid of any of my bench. Is a Trippier, Rashford, Matoma. The thing is with Matoma, I could go to someone like Andreas, but what for 4 points?
2 doubles coming up as well.
4 and 6 points. So I think the only one who's going to fuck me over is Riyad Mahrez, where he plays or not. Who knows what Pep's going to do? That's probably going to be the only one. But yeah, if I get, I don't know, these sort of weeks, if you've only got 9 players, 40, 50 points is all I'm probably going to get in it.
That's the thing.
You would think.
Yeah, that's it. And it's one of the, I didn't think you'd be the voice of reason, Andy, as far as chips and point hits go. But that's the thing, you got to, as much as I joke about it's a -0, at the end of the day, you've also got to think about what happens then next week when you realize, I want Ben Mee back. I want to bring in someone for the double in 27. You spend the points at some point, don't you? That's it.
I'm spending it on Aston Villa and Everton, duffers. Yeah. To be honest, I'm not. I'm just not of the thing of bringing them in. I know they play on them blank game weeks, but the shit, basically, aren't they?
And also, does it matter that you have 9 players starting when it actually, because it's actually 14 players starting because you have 5 of them doubling, like, you know what I mean? So I ignore the fact that it's 9 players on the pitch. You have 14 players starting matches this week. That's all that matters, really. You know what I mean? And you're better off having, Odegaard having 2 games than spending a -4 to bring in a Wolves defender or an Everton defender who has 2 games. You know what I mean? So, like, as long as you have the big hitters covering the doubles and that kind of thing, you're going to be fine. You know what I mean? And these blank game weeks are always a bit of a damp squib where we get all worked up about them, then everybody gets 30 and we all move on to the next week and it's grand. Yeah. You know what I mean? So don't panic too much.
I mean, as in terms of Wolves defenders, I think Kilman was like the most attacking one I was thinking of. There's also obviously like Craig Dawson, he can pop up with one from a corner. Who else was there? Probably that's Semedo. He's an option, but
he's expensive. I think Kilman's only 4.4.
Yeah, and he looked to be the one with the highest, form mark as well. So it's worth just.
And he'll probably play in 28 as well. So that's another game, So like it is what it is.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the way to look at it. And you never know. You never know. It could. You never know what can happen in one of these. That's the thing about this week. It's one of those. It's a double and it's a blank week. So like if anything wild was going to happen, it's going to be this week. But to bring up my lot, and we've kind of turned this show into a advert for FPL.team. But this is my lot at the minute on that website. So right now I can get 11 out, depending on whether Mitrovic is going to be all right. So I'm kind of waiting for Friday for news on that. So that is a possible consideration. But I've got 2.5 million in the bank, which has been in a hole in my pocket. Mitrovic can immediately become Darwin. I don't know if I can get my drafts up at the minute to bring that up. But yeah, it's definitely possible. It's just going to be a question of whether, I make any more hits for that. But I'm leaning not. There's definitely a part of me. At one point, I was considering sacrificing Kane. And that was kind of the way to afford. Because I've got right now, up until price changes tonight, I've got the exact money to do Kane to Darwin. And then I think it's Mahrez I can do to Salah, and I'd have 2 double Liverpool coming in. But it's Mahrez I'm less arsed about. I've been burned by Pep, so I'm not bothered about. But it's Kane out to do that, and to me, I just for a 1 week Liverpool punt, just doesn't seem worth it really. So yeah, I think of it. If I do anything, I think it's going to be Darwin in for Mitro. What was that?
Yeah, I was just going to say I'd be more inclined to get rid of Ake. If you did Mitro to Darwin and then Ake down to an Everton, Wolves or Aston Villa defender, and then you kind of, if you do it to a double game player, then you kind of negate the hit sort of thing you'd expect, as we've kind of touched on, whichever way you feel about how those things work. But you could go down to any one of the players that we've mentioned throughout the podcast, sort of thing, and then because Ake's, who knows with Ake's numbers at the minute, you got Laporte and Diaz coming back. You've got Akanji playing. They're playing 3 at the back, and they're playing Rodri at left back. It's like,
I'm staying away from City now because it's not worth It will hurt me the odd week when Mahrez has a big score and that, but the weekly hassle of it, like we all thought Akanji and Ake were nailed going into that double game week they had, and sure neither of them started either game, and it's just like, I don't think Pep himself has a full grasp of what he's doing at the moment. The only thing I'd say, Benno, I know I talked you into keeping Kane a couple of weeks the last time we spoke. The only thing about Kane is you have a lot of money tied up, like he's 11 and a half or whatever.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any doubles coming up.
No.
And he's going to blank in 28, I would imagine.
Yeah.
So like it is one of those ones, like I as I said, I argued passionately in favor of keeping him the last time we spoke. I did my wild card and he's gone, because it's just that there are, when you do a wild card and you're moving everything around, you can spend the money for him in a law. Like you can be you can buy somebody who has maybe 3 more games than him in the next 5 or 6 weeks, so just
that's the argument.
Don't be tied to him either,
Do you think as well with like Liverpool attackers coming back, like your Firminos, Jotas, Gakpos, their options?
They could get loads of. They could get minutes over Darwin easy. Maybe not so much Salah, but no one.
Well, they sort of said. I think Klopp said like Firmino and Jota probably got a couple more weeks to get up to full match fitness, so it's probably worth going with Darwin now and then getting rid of him a couple of weeks down the line when the big players are back.
That's my current plan, and just to show people the .team websites of this is my current plan with Darwin in for Mitro. If I do stick to that plan, but yeah, they've got the great system now where they show you all the doubles with projected fixtures from our friends over at Planet FPL, which is great. And you click that button, and it literally now gives you projected fixtures right through to the end of the season where the doubles are 34 and 37, and you can literally go through. And they haven't paid us for this, by the way. And set your team up for each of the weeks. So there's me in 26. That's what I look like in 27, and then 28 for the blanks. Obviously, I've got a bit of surgery that might be needed there if James's predictions come true. So it's good. It's good for that. And then like I say, 29 when the doubles come in. I got a lot of double players in my squad already, which has maybe put me off free hit there. So website worth its weight in gold, and it's definitely helped put things into context for me today. So there we go. But yeah, that's our future plans. But we shouldn't go before having a quick look at what's going on over on the draft side. I was going to say, do we have to? But I'm actually feeling pretty good about the draft.
I'm going to go now, lads. Right? I'll see you later.
Oh, what's going on at the minute for you, Jamesy, in this thing? It's tight though at the bottom. Like I feel like I'm getting out of the mire, but I'm still a few points away from it. Like there's me. I'm highlighted in 7th at 32 points now, but that's 7 ahead of you. Like it's not far really. There's a bit of a dogfight going on at the bottom of the draft table at the minute, mate.
We've dragged Will in for a long time. It was me, Connor, and JP basically. Swapping positions between the bottom 3 and moving up, but never moving any further than say 3rd from bottom. But we've dragged Will down now, so the next I have to get Matty involved in it now, and then it'll be a 4-way battle, and that's when it'll start to get interesting.
See, that's the thing. He's been talking like his season's over, but he's 8th. He's sitting pretty at the minute. He needs to maybe have more players than just Aguero. But, sorry, Haaland. What year is it?
As long as he has Haaland, he has a chance. Like that's the thing.
That's it. 15 this week, unfortunately for him. But you never know. Haaland explodes and he does well. But yeah, looking at that, obviously, as far as us lot in the mix, Andy, you're up to 3rd in the draft. So you're getting into the money positions there, mate.
I am. Yeah. I would say last week was a great week for me because everyone else lost around us, and even coming up this week with Eddie Sideburns' team, he's got all the Newcastle players, and he's got about 8 players out, and I don't think Eddie's going to get shut of them, is he? Because they're like his big cash cow in that team.
That's true. Who are you playing this week, Andy? Who have you got?
I think I've got just one. Oh, I've got you.
Right,
Hello,
Benno.
Benno.
Oh, you have, mate. You have. Sorry, just happened to be bringing up my team. You might notice there's a lot of double fixtures there.
Fuck's
Going
sake.
out there, not
1,
bad.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 doublers. You wouldn't be unhappy with that in the main draft, in the main game.
Oh,
But then
Pretty
again, with
grand.
mine, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got 6 doublers as well. So I've got three Everton, who did me well last week. I had Seamus Coleman 15 points, a Wolby 7. And I've got Jorginho and Trossard, who are, still looks like starters now in the Arsenal team. I have got Neil Mopey up front, who's not going to hit a cow's ass with a banjo, but I've got Salah in there as a double. And
you've got to. I was going to say that I've got more doublers than you, but I think Gomez there, for example, chances are that's not going to happen, is it? So we'll see. We'll see.
Could be an interesting match that I think this week. Benno.
Could be a big score.
Just teasing you there, mate.
The thing about the draft is just getting someone who plays 2 games in the double can be quite it's not great in the main game, but if you can get a guy who gets 3 or 4 points, just gets on the pitch for 90 minutes in 2 games, that's quite powerful in this when the margins, when the games often come down to 2 or 3 points anyway,
Funnily enough, James, I was calling Aston Villa defenders beforehand, and I've stuck Tyrone Mings in my draft team because I know he'll play for his 2 points.
Yeah.
It's worth doing. But yeah, some big games last week. Chris, obviously the US smashing Eddie Sideburns there, 46-16. Me and James had the game there, but I've already talked enough shit today. Will Cooling for JP this week as well. Obviously Matty on the losing end there. Connor and Gareth look at that, 40-39. That's the killer for poor Gareth. I don't know what he was looking at there. Yeah, Gareth's very diverse squad there. He might do well over the next few weeks.
Martinez -3, isn't it?
That killed him. That's what it is. That's what's done him, isn't it? -3. Oh, he'll be fuming. Yeah. But yeah, still all to play for. Like I say, Eddie and the other Chris are in the top 2 spaces there. Andy, you're not far behind. Chris, you're in 5th at this point. I'm quite happy with mid-table mediocrity. I think I've finished somewhere around there. As long as I'm not in the mire with Will and Jamesy and the lads, I'll take it. I'll take it definitely this year. But yeah, as far as fixtures coming up, excite me and Andy this week. Matty and Gareth, there you go, and a nice little grapple derby coming up. James, you got Chris Elliott, and Crystal and you got Will Cooling there as well. So all still to play for in the draft.
Should be a lovely win for me there. Famous last words, but I managed to get the 2 players.
Beat
2
him for
players
me,
that
Chris,
I did
will you?
want for this week. Yeah, I'll do
transactions again. As Matty was saying, we were saying when Matty was on, the transactions are busy. Like I put about 12 requests in this week and got 2 of them. Like there's a lot going on, isn't there?
A lot lead. Of people. I remember last year by this point, people had lost interest almost, but everybody's engaged in it this year. It's great.
Yeah.
I
really 2 under the radar picks today, so I'm
going to say
doing the research and everything.
I love it.
With forwards on there, I know he don't look like he's playing. Jamie Vardy's in the forward pool now.
I put in for him and didn't get him, so I'm assuming somebody got him.
Right.
Yeah, but I did put in for him for that reason because you can always get back in the starting 11.
Yeah.
But yeah, some odd ones turn up, don't they? And it's like, you take your shot.
You didn't get him because you must have got somebody before Welbeck, so he must still be in there.
Oh, that's what it is, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, Mateta. I think I had ahead of him just because of their double coming up. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Oh well, there you go. Andy giving the tips out on air. Maybe I'll go back to the drawing board. Have a second thought about that.
Down.
Love it. Well, just before we go, then, just as we always do, we'll have one quick last look at the GRAPPL league table at this point. Right now, on top is semi-enders Mark Bleakley. Currently,
I think he's 24th in the overall. In the world.
No, 47th. I think they are
47th now.
47th in the world at the minute.
Ridiculous, yeah.
45, Jesus.
45th in the world.
Oh, is he? Did we ever figure out? I tried to search for a Twitter and I couldn't come up with anything.
So
doing well.
Doing well. If you're out there, please come and appear on the podcast and tell us what to do. Probably do it there. Adam Abdul still doing well in second, and James, there you are in third. Where's Adam in the world, actually, out of interest? He must be doing.
He's
well
had some
as well.
good weeks, has Adam.
3,500. Look at that.
Top 3,500. Yeah. Oh, that's good to see. Good lad, Adam. Happy. Must be made up with that. 66 points this week. Doing well. But yeah, James, he's still in the mix for the overall GRAPPL League there and in third. And then I think there's a big jump until you start seeing some of our names. Jordan there in 14th.
Jordan, yeah.
He's not doing too bad. Blaine there in 9th. Good to see there as well. Can't see any hula hands in the top lot so
There's
far. There you go.
JP 35.
JP winning the Houlihan League at the minute there. So yeah, JP having a decent year as well. But as we always do, let's go to the shameful part of this league and
Is
see
it
how far
Roberto Carlos?
He's never catching anyone as easily. He's lost his login, I reckon, Roberto Carlos.
Been done by the Russians like me.
Sitting there rock bottom. Oh, there's Lee Malone there, 154. That's a name I recognise. Keith Harris, not doing it particularly well as well. Jordan Varley there as well. But yeah, that's the part of the league you don't want to be in. I'm glad to not see any of the GRAPPL FPL club types down there. No more. Not seeing Will's name down there anymore. Matty's 139, but he's green arrows for Matty, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and Martin's just up above as well there, green arrow.
Oh, that's good to see because Martin was right in it, wasn't he, for a while? Yeah, there you go. There's Bushby's babes there in solid form.
Not a bad team, that, no?
Yeah,
what Martin's done.
Well set for the coming weeks as well. So there we go. So yeah, hopefully Martin might be, as one of our few podcast listeners might have taken some tips today. But there we go. That's it, lads. So yeah, been another great podcast. I think we said, didn't we? We were gonna we said at the top, James, it's going to be the Roman Reigns schedule for the rest of the season. We'll be jumping in when it's important, which is pretty much a lot of the game weeks coming up. Obviously got double game week 25 this week, but the next double's 27. So we're planning on doing a podcast leading into that week, as well as the big fat one in 29 after the international break. But yeah, come that podcast, hopefully, we'll in fact definitely we'll know a bit more about the blanks in 28 as well. But yeah, past that, anything else, lads? Anyone wants to plug? Andy, what you been up to?
Drinking.
Fair enough. Any pubs you want to plug?
I would recommend go to Lincoln for a weekend. Lovely place.
Okay. I'd recommend Nottingham, just not on a stag. But great place. Had a great time. Brilliant. Well, that's it for us for another FPL club. As we always say, the audio feed is available wherever podcasts are sold. Get that there. But yeah, keep an eye on the GRAPPL YouTube and the GRAPPL Twitch, and we should be back again for game week 27. Cheers for tuning in, all. We'll see you again soon.
Dubravka. Check.